Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. Great to have you along for our Christmas edition show. My name's Lyndon Hosking, and we haven't been around for about 3 weeks, I think it is. So we've got plenty to talk about, and who better to join me on our Christmas edition than these two guys, Grant Tassie Brown and Nick Noonan Boy Noonan. How are we, guys?
Good boys, how are you?
Oh, hang on, I've muted Tassie. Sorry, there he is.
Bring you in, Taz.
Levels.
How are we?
Levels.
All good. It's that time of year, so it's great to have you guys along. I know everyone's flat out and wrapping up the year. I'm sure we've got Christmas parties and everything else to go to. I know, Tassie, you've been flat out with your business at Pursuit Boxing, and of course, Nick, you've just wrapped up as Oz Boxing Central, the Noonan Boy Promotions, the whole lot.
Fight Hype, Noonan Boy,
Fight Hype, sorry.
Fight HQ, they're all shutting down.
Yeah, it comes around quick, doesn't it? What about you, Tassie? When do you finish up?
I'm only going to miss out the main days, Christmas Day and Boxing Day.
Yep.
And work right through. So.
Yep. Why not?
Yeah. I'm always on the hustle, mate. As Noonan knows, mate. I'm always on the hustle.
Yep, I know you well, mate. And Nick, what do you got planned, mate? Obviously, you just said you shut down any Christmas parties that you should let us know about. I mean, it's riveting TV at the moment, by the way, but...
Mate, it'll be just spend time with family, try and get my golf game back to some normality, and, mate, I'll probably have a good break. I can't see myself starting up to at least the middle of January next year.
Yep.
Look, there'll be a little bit of work, obviously, leading into Javante Davis and Hector Garcia, but I think the guys that will be handling that can handle that, and we'll do a little bit of stuff around that. But just a good break, mate. It's been such a massive year.
It has been, hasn't it? And we'll go over that later. So just to go over what we're going to do on the show. Of course, we've got a bit more of an Aussie flavour tonight. I know there's a little bit of international news we've got to talk about, but mainly an Aussie flavour. Been plenty going on in the last couple of weeks that I really want to get your opinion on, guys. Headlined by the all-female fight, where everyone was talking about, of course. And later on, I want to get your views on your highlight of the year, both international and domestic, and also something you're looking forward to in 2023, both international and domestic as well. So, got plenty to go through, guys. Let's start off with the it's pretty much old news now, but for us, we haven't had a chance to talk about it, of course. And I'm referring to the biggest all-Aussie fight, or female Aussie fight of all time. It just happened to take place in England, which is a little bit ironic. Of course, Ebony Bridges getting the job done with a dominating 8th round stoppage of shotgun Shannon O'Connell. She retained her IBF bantamweight title. Tassie, initial thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, Ebony just proved a lot of people wrong. You know, like she based herself in England. I mean, and you know that England has got a lot better, boxing than Australia. They've just got more gyms, better trainers, and just more sparring and more fighters. So she's been over there in a great camp around, the who's who of sparring. She was, she's a strong girl, and she out-roughed and out-hustled Shannon, and that's the end of the day. What happened? I mean, credit to Shannon for going over and fighting, but I mean, Ebony wasn't going to be beat that night, and we can say what we want to say, we can crack jokes and say whatever, but she proved to everyone that she's not just a stripper, or I don't even know if she ever was a stripper, but she's not that sort of girl. She's not just looking good in her bra and panties. She can fight. And she fought with a broken hand, I think, and at the end of the day, you can't do much more than in a grudge match than shut someone up by stopping someone.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah.
And I know we like Shannon, and you especially got a close contact to her. At the end of the day, mate, she went over and full respect to her, but she got silenced. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, you're right, Nick. It was built up as such a grudge fight, of course, and it lived up to the bill. We'll talk about a little bit before and after in a sec, but the fight itself, did you expect it to be so one-sided?
No, I didn't. I completely was wrong about this fight, and I want to admit that first straight up. I thought, looking into it, there was a lot of build-up, and from a digital point of view, it really absolutely elevated 6 days out. It just went berserk, not only in England but Australia and even the US. A lot of the analytics I know from some of the big digital channels here come from overseas. So you got to shout out to both girls there. But no, I didn't. I thought Shannon, and for a woman that I've known for a while, and I respect her, that she was meant to be so fit, and she wasn't as fit as I thought. I don't know if she was a little bit zapped by the occasion. I don't know if she was zapped by a bit of the stuff that happened during the week that took that out of her. But yeah, Ebony Bridges proved myself. She proved a lot of people wrong. And as Tassie just said then, and we can all talk about it and build it up, and we can have our opinions, but it comes down to what happens in that ring over 30 minutes. And she was the better fighter, and she was clearly the better fighter, and she took over the fight in the second half of the second round. Shout out to her team. They completely adapted the strategy when they needed to. And I thought Shannon was a bit flat. I've had some texts off Shannon back and forth. I'm going to give her a call when things calm down a little bit. But I'd like to hear her side of what she saw in there compared to what we all saw. And obviously we've got to grant that personally. But no, I thought the fight went very different towards to what I thought would play out. I thought Shannon would beat her, but if it was going to go down the stretch, I thought Ebony could win by points. It went completely the reverse way.
Yeah, look, I have actually spoken to Shannon. I gave her a call yesterday, look, what I will say is 100% with you guys. Full credit to Ebony Bridges. She
100%.
Yeah, she delivered. I won't say I was surprised she won, because at the end of the day, she's a world champion, and obviously I was backing Shannon to win, but I wasn't surprised. But what I was surprised at the way she did the job, and as I said, full credit to her team. Really, really good strategy. Very, very good conditioning. She rebounded from a shaky first round, and then just really took over the fight. But as I said, I was really surprised at the domination that she had. But look, I did speak to Shannon, and I'll sort of reveal a little bit as we go. But I suppose one that we can't lose track of is the fact that Ebony Bridges, she had a lot of pressure on her. I'm pretty sure about 90% of especially the Aussie boxing public out there, thought that Shannon would win. But full credit to her. The one thing that really surprised, I was with you, Nick, is that Shannon, as everyone knows, is an absolute physical beast. She trains hard. And I've just got a feeling I'm not sure whether the occasion got the better of her, because she's been in such big fights before, but maybe the pressure she put on herself to get the stoppage, the surround, who knows what it was. But I agree with you, she was definitely flat. And I don't think she can really explain why. But a lot of factors here. But at the end of the day, Tassie, again, as I said, all that aside, Ebony Bridges, she got the job done like champions do.
Well, Linda, you can be as fit as you want, but a bit like Brock Jarvis, who trains harder than anyone, but,
100%.
people ringside told me he was sort of deep breathing before the fight started versus Paro. So sometimes the occasion does get the better of you for people, but and he'll bounce back because he's a fucking an absolute champion, Brock. But and Shannon will too. Look like she's been a great fighter. She got the opportunity, which she deserved. Probably should have got it earlier. She gave her best. Went out on her shield. She was still throwing punches as she got stopped. So she literally landed the beauty before she got referee waved it off. But look, what can you say? It can only be one winner, Lyndon.
Yep.
And and unfortunately wasn't the girl that we all, I guess, wanted to win. Because we all wanted Shannon to win. But that's the way cookie crumbles. But well done to Ebony.
Yep.
And I hope Shannon has a good rest. She's got the best team in Australian boxing behind her, Glenn Jennings and No Limit. So I'm sure she will rebuild and a title shot next year with another body or whatever else or another weight is definitely not out of the question.
Yeah, look, one thing I'll let you comment in a second, Nick, but I probably want to focus, and I know I'm going to be accused of Team Shannon and everything else, but one thing I just want to touch on that, I probably told her I wouldn't say anything, but one thing that probably disturbed me just a little bit, result aside. I know we've had a lot of the antics in the lead up and what happened afterwards, and no one's making excuses for that. It was a shocking look. But Nick, one thing that's really disappointed me is that the response to Shannon. I know she's an easy target sometimes, but I know I can reveal that she got death threats. She's had people telling her she should kill herself. Every C word in the book you can think of, and I understand we all have our own sides and everything else, but surely in this day and age, when the result's said and done, we can have a little bit of humility. I know that's probably not the way we are these days, but it's disturbing.
Who from?
Just mate. She had hundreds and hundreds of messages, so I'm not going to say. I'm not going to.
It's like the Zarafa thing, mate.
Yeah.
What's messages though? Like, who gives a fuck about messages? Worry about it when it knocks on your door, mate.
Yep.
I've had death threats and I laugh at it, mate. I wouldn't pay attention to that. To me, that's just, I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's a hard one though. It's a hard one though, Tassie, because I think unless you've been in that position where people you don't know are flooding you with literally tell you to kill yourself, and
it's social media. It's all puppet.
Yeah, I know. And look, my advice, and I'm sure Glenn's advice would have been to stay off. But at the end of the day, how long can you do it?
Gets death threats all the time.
Yeah, look, yeah. I don't know, Nick. What do you think about the whole thing? As I said, look, you know Marcus Rapper really well.
I'm going to say something here. For those who think they know Shannon O'Connell and can have an opinion on Shannon O'Connell, don't really know Shannon O'Connell. I have been a person that has been able to get to know Shannon O'Connell and other sides of Shannon O'Connell. So I'm not getting paid to stick up for Shannon O'Connell, okay? So I just want to make that very, very clear. Shannon and I said this on the last show, some of the best, and I've had some conversations this year from the likes of Bill Haney to Michael Zarafa to George Cambosis to Devin Haney to so many different people in the sport. And probably one of the best conversations I've had was with Shannon O'Connell this year. There is another side to Shannon O'Connell if you get to know that. So for people out there that say, oh, she's this and she's that, and I've heard people call her an SLUT and a CUNT and all this sort of stuff, it all comes back to one thing is people have opinions on things that one, and I'm the first one to admit it, when we talk about this sport, I haven't done it professionally. Always respect that before you type, because most of you cowards out there, you type. And the second thing is if you've been a professional boxer or a professional golfer or a freaking bloody football player, you kind of know what the other people are going through. So you're a little bit more professional in your statements. So I just wanted to clear that up. You know, I mean, it's the same with Ebony Bridges. Ebony Bridges has another side as well. I haven't got to know Ebony Bridges as well as Shannon O'Connell, so I can't speak for that. But I really wanted to clear that up. And that's not, let's bloody share this and the boys sticking up for Shannon. But, you know, at times I understand boxing, and I always say this is boxing, it can get a little bit out of hand and it builds the fight. But some of the stuff after it from certain individuals, certain boxers, certain athletes, certain trainers, it seems to me that some of it's personal. And for whatever reason, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? 99.9% of us haven't done it. Shout out to Ebony Bridges. Ebony Bridges, you won the fight. It was a great fight for about 6 rounds. I thought it went on about 2 rounds too long. At the end of the day, Bridges gets her flowers and we move on.
Yep.
However, this is not 1987 at Princess Park, Lyndon. We live in a digital world now where people, and shout out to Glenn if he's listening, if Glenn Jennings has said to Shannon O'Connell and Cooper and Gareth and the team, turn it off. Yep. It's very easy to say that, Glenn, but at the end of the day, you're on it. Shannon has a personal Instagram and Facebook accounts. People know how to get to her. She still sees it, Tassie. And at the end of the day, let's just say, you know, Shannon, you weren't good enough. You got beaten, and just leave it at that. So for people to do that sort of stuff, that's just a toxic behaviour that we get, not just in boxing, we get that in society. We get that in soccer. You know what I mean? Like Mbappe yesterday, who's the French soccer player who kicked 3 goals, he's even had some bad feedback. You know, the guy played his guts out. Just remember, in all sports, when we sign up for this is the pros, the cons, the positives, the issues, the solutions, the ideas. It comes with the territory. However, I will say some of the behaviour towards Shannon O'Connell after the fight has crossed the line.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it, Tassie? I mean, look, everyone can have their say, and all the Bridges support. I'm sure there would have been some feedback the other way if Shannon had won. I'm not discounting that, but surely in this day and age, sometimes to forget these people, whether they be boxers, football players, whatever, they're still human beings with families, and no one should be subjected to someone saying to go shoot or kill yourself. It's shocking.
No one's got the right to judge anyone in life. No one knows anyone. Like, no one knows a sports person or a celebrity. You just read about them in the papers. You don't know unless you know them. Like, Nick knows Gambosis. Nick knows Gambosis well. Lyndon.
You know Tim Zoo well.
Let me speak. Yeah, your bit. I know Mundine well. Lyndon, you know the Maloney boys well. Shannon. We can speak on them because we know them, but most people don't know shit. And especially, as I keep saying, and I'm fucking sick of saying it, if you haven't fought, shut your fucking mouth. I'm sick of these bums, especially in Melbourne. Everyone thinks they know boxing. If I don't know your name in boxing, if you haven't had at least 15 amateur fights and turned pro or went to the Olympics like Lyndon or had done something like I did, shut your fucking mouth. You don't know nothing. You're all a bunch of bums.
Yeah.
You can hold pads all you want. I'm sick of people talking about my sport.
Yeah.
You haven't fought. If I don't know your name in Australia, you're a fucking nobody.
I just think, Nick, and you're pretty close with Michael Zarafa, and he's probably another one in Australian boxing.
I'm close with a lot of boxers.
I think it just comes down to whether you like them or not. You can have your say. You can even hate these guys, but do you really need to personally message them and tell them they should kill themselves and they'll see you next Tuesday? And I mean, it's just.
If you're that tough, go and meet the guy. If you're that tough, go and meet Michael Zarafa or Shannon. Go and meet him and fight him and see how you go. People should just shut their mouth. I've had people mouth to me on social media, mate, because I'm very outspoken. Well, come meet me then, you fucking weak cunts.
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, well, I didn't have the mute button there. So
I got the privilege to cover this man very closely between 213 and the back half of 17. Obviously, he had his break in Floyd Mayweather, but I actually used to think that Tassie, and Lyndon, who was a massive Mayweather fan as well, that I always used to think, shit, what happens if Floyd loses? What's the public reaction going to be like? Because I remember looking at YouTube, and people say to me now, I remember when we went through it this year with Zarafa versus Hardman, it got heated and Bridges. And I'm not knocking it, but I've seen it at a different level to most people in this country. And I remember when we were going through the Mayweather versus Canelo, and the Mexicans were getting on the Fight Hype channel, and they were really writing some gruesome stuff. And even at the fight week, and you guys have both been there and done it, so you guys know it can get very patriotic when the Mexican flags and the Argentina flags come out and people get so pumped up. But at the end of the day, the fans can't fight for you. And that's one thing that Floyd used to always say. But we're talking about Bridges versus O'Connell. The event is over. There's no need to both ladies to drive it in. I always have a thing too. If Ebony Bridges wants to call Shannon O'Connell a scumbag or whatever, they're about to go into fight. They're about to go into war. If Shannon O'Connell wants to call her a skanky stripper, it's between O'Connell and Bridges.
Yeah.
They're selling the fight. They're building it up. They're doing all this sort of stuff. Don't take it personal, because none of us are going in the ring. So just leave it at that. You know what I mean? I just, like some of the stuff, like, so what if Shannon called her a skanky stripper? Her perception sometimes could look like that. It's part of the fight. Man, oi, Tassie, you were around. What about some of the stuff that Chock went through? Like, seriously. Chock some nights would be doing stuff during the day, and to be on fucking A Current Affair with Ray Martin at 7:30 live across the country. You know what I mean? Chock in this country went through it more than anyone, because the whole eyes of the world from 4 o'clock when we knocked off school to when we come home and played cricket and whatever, we'd sit down with Dad and Mum, Tassie, and watch Chock on A Current Affair, or, with Tim Webster on bloody Channel 9 News. Mate, it was out of control. I don't know how to go through it.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is, though, guys, there's some pretty, disgusting people in the world that really just
arseholes, grubs.
But look, and I know afterwards, Tassie, I know, it was a bad look with the Sky Nicholson incident, and I think Cooper with Ebony. All I will say in this whole thing is there's always two sides of a story. I know it was a shocking look with the picture that was up with Shannon with the bird to Sky Nicholson, and Sky Nicholson, of course, had her say on YouTube. The only thing I will say with that is that apparently, I'm just giving Shannon's perspective here. I haven't got Ebony, of course, to get her view, but all I can say in retaliation to that look was that Sky Nicholson was very, very close to Shannon's corner, and there was a fair bit of stuff coming her way. And then at the end, when she saw her pretty much, celebrating the win the way she did, in an animated sort of way, got the better of Shannon, and she did it. Not the right thing, I know, but all I'm saying is there's always context. It's not just someone being a bad person. There's always context. That's from both sides. But end of the day, we can go on about it all night. Ebony was the better fighter on the night, and good luck to her.
Let's move it along.
Yeah, exactly. All right, on to the next thing, guys. This is, again, a little bit of old news. Charlo Zoo officially set down for the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas now. Tassie, you're an honorary member of Team Zoo. You know what's going on. What was the reason why it didn't end up at the MGM Grand? Because that was, I think, what we're all expecting.
Yeah, mate. I actually haven't asked that.
I know.
Messaged Tim.
Oh.
Yeah, he'd know. I just messaged Tim to say hello, talk to Glenn Jennings, but I haven't got into it because I don't really care myself where it is.
Yeah.
But as long as Tim wins it, but Noon's in the loop a bit more there probably.
No, that's okay, but yeah.
Go ahead.
Look,
Nick.
it's MGM Grand and T-Mobile Arena that's all part of the same group. Mandalay Bay all falls under MGM Group, and the fight's decided. This is the thing. Charlo's not as big a name in America as what people think he is. This fight, there was rumours that this fight was going to be in Los Angeles at the Staples Center, and then obviously it's going to be now at Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. It still holds 10,000 people. I still expect close to 10,000 people there, hopefully. But for MGM Grand sitting at 16,800 and T-Mobile sitting at 23, it doesn't really fit for that fight. And look, full respect to Tim Zoo. Just like with George Kambosos, when George fought Teofimo Lopez, there was talks of these big stadium fights. George was known very, very well in America, but not as big as what a lot of people thought. And Teofimo wasn't as big as what he thought. And that's why, even though it was COVID times, it falled in the MSG side stadium. But this fight will, it doesn't matter where this fight will be, but that's where it's fallen. The MGM Grand and Tom Brown and the group at TGB have decided to put it there.
I know too. I went to the Jeff Horn Crawford fight at the MGM, and I think they scaled it down to an 8,000 seat arena. I think they just sectioned off the top. But look, there could be a variety of reasons. There could be other concerts booked or whatever. Who knows? But look, end of the day, Mandalay Bay. Who cares where it is? Tassie will be there, and it'll be awesome.
Costa fought there.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Costa fought there, and the thing is, Costa fought there a few times. Yeah.
And Costa will be there as well. I messaged him last week, and he'll be there for the second time in Tim's career from the first debut, now the world title. But Tim's good. He's at Goosens, obviously. Him and Igor, and the chef, pretty much, because Glenn had to go to England and Glenn's in Australia now. Glenn will go back after Christmas. But, I mean, look, it's just a small team. Nothing big. He's getting in the work. He's got a couple of those big super middleweight twin brothers, obviously, which is a good idea. Guys that are big and strong like Charlo, and he's getting his name out there with Ellie Setback and ES News and all that. And he seems focused, and there's no big entourage, which is good,
Nick, I watched, like everyone out there would have watched the virtual press conference a week or so ago, and what I really took from is that Charlo was trying his absolute best to get some sort of something going as far as some to and fro, and Tim, super professional, said everything exactly the way he did it. He actually made Jamel Charlo look like a bit of a dill in the end, I thought.
Yeah, he did, and the thing is, Tim's funny when he does his media as well, because he's actually quite blunt, and he's very, you wouldn't say strategic with it. He sort of just does it on the fly. To be honest, I actually said this, I've said this to a few people, and Tassie will back me, Tim don't give a fuck about the media.
Yep.
Like, he respects and he understands that he needs to do it, but he's not there to sell the fight. He's there to train hard, get himself ready for January the 28th and go in the ring. But look, Charlo's a different cat. He is weird. I will admit that. I know Jamel. I've met him a few times. He's a different guy. Be prepared for some fireworks fight week. He will do some different things. He's a different sort of guy. He yaps a lot, but he also does different things. But no, the virtual press conference was good, but I sort of have a bit of a bone to pick, Tazzy. I wasn't really impressed with Tim when he started calling Charlo bro, and he sort of, bro, and, I'm like, come on, man, you're going to fight this guy. Go at him a little bit. Give it back to him.
That's the way Tim talks. It's just the way sort of, that's just him, mate. He's, like, bro, and I mean, that's just the way it is.
Because he's not your bro. For one, well, let's be honest. For one, you're going to fight the guy. He's not your bro. You're an Australian guy. He's from West Houston, and two, give it back to him a little bit, Tim. Tim's got to realise too that Tim's never seen it at this level. Charlo's been at this level so many times, so I've got my opinions on how this fight's going to go, and I just hope that Zoo remains pretty close-knit and calm in his own world when he's over there, because there's going to be a lot of fireworks coming at him, I think, with a lot of the hoopla that Charlo does.
And just here, Carl, copping some serious heat on the US YouTube channels for rocking with Tim. Don't take it, mate. Hang tough. Get in there. Team Zoo all the way. So just give us. I'm sure you'll give back as well as you're getting. But look, it's come around pretty quick. We're what are we, about 5 weeks out now? I think Tim moves to Las Vegas on the 28th of December, and then has a month in Vegas. So yeah, I think it was announced about 6 months out. So the fact we've only learnt of the venue about a week ago is staggering. But anyway, tickets are on sale. Get them now. I'm sure there'll be a massive Aussie contingent over there. So looking forward to that. Another one here, Nick, is one that's just sort of come out of nowhere. It's Liam Wilson will challenge Emmanuel Navarrete for the WBO Super Featherweight title on February 4. Now, he was supposed to be on the undercard. Now finds himself in a world title fight in Glendale, Arizona.
Glendale, Arizona, the week after. Shout out to Matt Rose, George Rose, Steve Scanlon, Arc Management, all the guys down there. Look, opportunities arise. Certain people move. And Shakur Stevenson, moving out of the 130-pound division, has opened up some certain things in the WBO. And Liam gets his opportunity there to fight for a world title. So it's almost sealed and delivered, I think. I don't know if it's actually 100%, but I think it's 99.9%, and it has to be if Benny Harrington and the guys have hopped on the aeroplane yesterday. So this is absolutely fantastic for Liam Wilson. I'm stoked for him and his team, and it's one that Australian Boxing Central, everyone, Oz Boxing, all the big channels around Australia, yourselves, let's really get behind this, And this is the thing with these events, Shout out to Cambosis this year. Mate, it was a Cambosis show this year with Haney for a long time, and now all eyes are on Tim Zoo, and all eyes are going to be on Liam Wilson, which is fantastic. Can't wait.
It's amazing, isn't it, Tassie? You're in the right spot at the right time, and your dream shot.
You need to stay on, Tassie, and go over. You need to go and support Liam.
It's an extra week.
I'm serious, Taz.
Mate, I'll be supporting him 100%, brother, but yeah, I won't be able to do that, unfortunately.
Where is Arizona?
Arizona's it's desert, and it's right near Nevada. It's going to be very it's going to be cold, and the desert vibes out there.
Yeah,
it's a great opportunity for him, mate. And like you said, mate, boxing. He got knocked out, and he thought he's probably doubting his career, and then he got the revenge on that guy, and then one win after that, and he's fighting for a world title. So
amazing.
If you're in the top 10, sitting around there, you get that phone call. Get that phone call anytime. It's like Jeff Fennick and Lester Ellis did for their first world title shot. You know what I mean? So
and of course Oscar Valdez is the reason he's got the shot, because he was
injured. Yeah. I must say though, all best to Liam, but this is a dangerous fight for him.
Yep.
But the bloke is no slouch.
Yeah, 30. I think is he 34-1 or something like that. I think he is. So
34-1, never ready, power in both hands.
You got to take the fight. You can't knock it back, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, just going back to the Charlo Zoo fight, guys. I don't think there's any Oh, mate, Big J. Predictions. I'm sure we're all going to go for Tim. I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I'm obviously Team Zoo all the way and hoping he wins, but I'm trying to get a feel for what the fight's gonna be. Tazzy, I mean,
mate, listen. I know, Nick's got his version and all that. He's mentioned it to me before. Look, I know boxing better than anyone, and I try not to ever go with my heart over my predictions. But I'm actually not going with my heart. I believe, like Costa did versus Judah, he's going to shut the loudmouth American up. And he's going to do it with pressure. I'm hoping that he's going to be a bit more head movement coming forward, not too online. And with the pressure and the body punches, and obviously if you can take Charlo's power, which I believe you can, he's going to break him down. And I'm seriously thinking he's going to upset the world. Castana bet Charlo the first time. The guy from Detroit beat
Harrison.
Charlo's great.
Cody Harrison, my mate.
Charlo, I think that, look, if Charlo underestimates like Lopez against Gambosis, because no doubt Lopez did underestimate Gambosis, I don't think Charlo is that stupid like Lopez, and I don't think his team would be like that because Lopez's dad's an absolute clown. But mate, I'm not just saying it, and Tim's going to get it done. Tim's going to get it done, and I'm really confident. Mate, who knows? A rematch it might be different, but on this night, Tim's going to shock the world.
What are your thoughts, Nick?
Look, I see this fight playing in two parts. For Tim, I think that I don't know if he's going to get too overawed by the occasion in fight week. I think the fight week could get to Tim a little bit, I think. I think Jamel, the scary thing for Tim is, and I saw some footage. I'm not going to bring it out now because I'm shutting off, but I've got some footage that I'll bring out in January. The scary thing for Zoo is Jamel's the fittest, the fastest, and the strongest he's ever been at the moment. And I think the thing that with Derek and Joan Guzman have been working on with him the last 6 weeks with the head movement, and there's a lot more defense. I think Jamel's actually a better fighter now because of the war with Castano. So it makes for a cracker. Look, at the end of the day, for Australian boxing, it'd be great if Zoo won. It'd be absolutely fantastic, like with Kambosos, you know what I mean? But like when Kambosos fought Lopez, you are going up against the undisputed world champion in Jamel Charlo. He's one of the most underrated boxers there is in the world. I've got to see him fight on numerous occasions, but as Tazzy said, he can be beaten. He was beaten against Tony Harrison. He was outboxed by Tony Harrison, and Tony took him down the stretch. However, when he come back in the rematch, Jamel switched it up on him and got a little bit more harder. I thought the first Castano fight, I actually had it 7-5 to Castano. So I think Jamel has learned from that. So it makes for an absolute cracker. Unfortunately for us, I can't give a prediction on the fight because we're covering it. But for Australian boxing, it would be absolutely fantastic to see Tim Zoo get all the belts like George did a couple of years ago, and for Liam Wilson the week after. It'd be awesome. But I'm going to be honest, it's a very, very tough task for Zoo. I'm going to go off Zoo's last fight, Tassie, when he fought not a puncher and when he made some mistakes early, when he was flat-footed and he stayed in a straight line. You can't do that with Jamel. And I just hope Igor, Boris, and whoever's in that team, Glenn Jennings, and the digital shooters that are creating all this content and all this hoopla in LA is, guys, work on your defense with Jamel, because if you make one mistake against Jamel, Tim will end up in the hospital. With Jamel, he's like that. He's got a lot of power, and it could be a bad loss for Tim Zoo.
I look obviously backing Tim. I think he's definitely. I'm not sure. I don't think the occasion will get to him. I think he's a very cool type of guy, level-headed. I think he's got a really good team around him that'll level him down. But one thing I will say, I think it does depend a little bit on what Charlo does turn up. But I just think Tim if it all goes his way, he's definitely got the tools to win it. But I'm just 50-50. I don't really know, and I'm just sort of hoping, I suppose. So,
well, you know what? No matter what happens, guys, he's never going to die wondering. That's one thing.
Fucking oath.
People saying it's too soon and all this and that. Well, at the end of the day, life's all about opportunity. You never know what could happen. You could die tomorrow.
Yep.
So he took the opportunity to fight for all the belts, pretty much 20-something years anniversary, some anniversary of his dad's first world title fight. And he's there. And you know, and look what he's come from nothing, from a few years ago debuting to coming along and only not long ago beating Jeff Horn and everything now he's there, mate. So hats off to the guy. And as I said, win, lose or draw, I'm in his corner no matter what. But I really, honestly, I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to bring it all home. And I hope he does. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's one thing I love about Tassie, because Tassie and I can relate to this. Tassie's very close to Tim. I'm very close to George. I knew what George was up against, Devon, and I backed George in 100%. You know what I mean? My opinion on Tim versus Charlo is different, because I don't have a relationship with Tim and Glenn Jennings.
Yeah,
but
good point.
I'm so glad, Tassie, you're saying that, because that just shows a testament to what a great person Grant Brown is, because Grant actually knows how good Charlo is, but he's going to absolutely rise to the occasion. You know, Tassie's going to be over there fight week, and I'm sure Tassie will walk up to Tim and give him some tips, and, you know, not tips on how to do it at that level, but Tim will be surrounded by a hell of a lot of people, hopefully, that will block out all the bullshit. But I'm going to tell you one thing. When you go to a Charlo fight, there's a lot of bullshit that comes with it. And, you know, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can't wait either way.
Exactly the same as when Costa fought Judah. Look at Anuraj Judah had Tyson and rappers and everyone, you know what I mean? But that's just the American way. You know, I've got a lot of American friends, and Zab Judah's a legend, but his dad. But a lot of Americans, they feel they need to walk to the ring with 50 million guys. A lot of blokes that believe in himself don't need no one to walk to the ring. So it is what it is.
Exactly. All right, boys. Well, let's move on. Again, tickets are on sale for that fight, so get on there. Another bit of massive news, which is going to have a lot of ramifications, is No Limit have become the exclusive boxing provider after signing a 3-year deal with Foxtel. So, Nick, this is, it's probably not a surprise, but it's still massive news, considering that there's a lot of fighters, great fighters out there that aren't with No Limit at the moment.
Yeah, look, this is a different thing. It's not forever, but at the end of the day, and I said this the other day to a couple of our guys at Australian Boxing Central, and who, you know, don't want to be named, but people have had their opinions like this is a good thing and this is a bad thing for boxing. At the end of the day, what we've seen over the last 2-3 years is very, very scattered in Australian boxing, and Fox Sports and Main Event have decided to throttle it back with certain promoters and certain teams in certain ways, and they're going to back No Limit in with this. And look, No Limit, Matt Rose, and Matt Rose should get a praise for this, because George Rose is more the face of it, but it's more Matt Rose, to be honest. Matt Rose and his team have come into boxing 4 years ago. They started off from the grassroots. They built it up, and they've gradually built it up. Look, they've had a big fighter whose name is Tim Tszyu, which is decided to go with them. And then you obviously got Nikita that's coming across, Liam Wilson, Paulo, even Shannon signed with them. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we can all have these opinions on it, and people sending messages through to us, Boxing Central, going, oh, this is bad for boxing. Can't be bad for boxing if you're sending me a message and you're talking about it and everyone's talking about it. Because, you know, Steve Crawley, shout out to Steve Crawley and Connor and the guys at Fox Sports and Main Event, they've decided to make a decision at this stage of where the ecosystem is in Australia, and they've decided to go with No Limit. And it is what it is. There's no point complaining about it. I think it's actually a good thing for boxing. It could be a bad thing if it doesn't go well for boxing, but at the end of the day, there's promoters out there, and there's ways that we can still watch boxing on different streams and different things that people can do. Like, Angelo DiCarlo, what he's done with Liam Paro, Dempsey McKean, and these guys, how he's sort of built them up through the ace boxing ranks and then sent them overseas to Matchroom. They're fighting on a different level platform as well. So, look, there's good and bad to it, but at the end of the day, it's good for boxing.
What do you think, Tassie?
Yeah, mate, I'm actually in discussions with Matt Rose at the moment about some personal business. So, mate, I'm all for them, mate. They're
And
a
that's
great
to Bowie
team.
Belbin.
Sorry?
Bo Belbin.
Yeah, I won't say too much, mate, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, so it looks like I'm doing a bit of talking at the moment. And as I said, mate, they're a great team. Look what they've done. They've got Harry Garside. They've got the Keita Zoo, Tim
Sam
Zoo, Liam
Goodman.
Wilson, little Sam, what's his name?
Goodman.
Sam Goodman.
Sam Goodman's awesome.
All them guys, mate, and they do it well, mate. They're first class. But so just give me the rundown, Lyndon. So no more DNL, no more Tasman fighters, no one of them no Fox Sports, normal shows.
Well, Nick, you can back me up on it here. From
No.
what I'm reading, there's
So-
14 Foxtel shows. I think there's 4 main events, and anyone that wants to go on there has to go through No Limit. And I don't think it's going to happen with DNL because I don't think they've got the best relationship.
100%. So anyone that wants to fight on Fox Sports and main event, they go through the guys that know Limit and working with them. DNL, Tasman Fighters, Brian Amatruda, and these guys will still do their shows, guys, and they will do it through different platforms. They were already doing it already, except for DNL. Angelo DiCarlo and the Ace Boxing Group will fall under BN Sports for 2023 and will be on TV, which is still fantastic as well. But for Fox Sports main event, it is No Limit Boxing.
I think the difference with Ace is that I think Angelo has to sort of pay his own way, I think, whereas obviously No Limit don't. But I see it. I see it. I don't really see it as good news or bad news. I'm all for it. I just think it comes down to a business decision. The guys that run Fox Sports, they've got all these other sports they've got to look after and everything, all these other events. They want it nice and easy. And what's the easiest way to do it is the proven performers in No Limit, all the eggs in one basket, and they know they can do the job. They've never done a bad show, and they can just put it to bed, put a bow on it, and move on, and not have to worry about all these promoters, whatever. They've got the best in the business. DNL, Nick, you'll probably support me. DNL, Dean Lonigan's the ultimate professional. He'd be already, as soon as he got wind of that, he'd be on to Stan or DAZN or all these other streaming platforms to get his content out there. Because at the end of the day, he's got Jaya Pattaya, Justice Huni, Isaac Harbin, all these types of guys. So he's got to do something with him. But I wouldn't be surprised if he hooks up with one of these other streaming apps. And it's really a non-issue.
Well, this is the thing. There's more ways to watch boxing, and we found this out when I got the numbers. I got the email the other day, and I should put it up on the screen. But, guys, it's very surprising of what Terence Crawford and David Avanesyan did the other day, and they used a new platform. And boxing, this is the thing. There's more ways to watch boxing than what we used to watch it, guys, back in the old days with Andy Raymond.
Free to air TV.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
Sky Channel.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and Fox, Steve Crawley and these guys have looked at it like that, and they're really looking at it like, they're going to tie it up a little bit for a good 18 months, block it in, see where it's at, and then maybe expand it again. This has happened in boxing before in Australia. This is not the first time this has happened. You know what I mean? People are making out like, oh, this is bad for boxing and that. Well, it's happened in the 2000s. Certain people weren't allowed on Fox Sports, and certain people were. You know what I mean? And Jaya Pattaya, he has a different market to what Tim Zhu has. We all know that. Jaya Pattaya, if DNL, shout out to Dean Lonigan and Liam Lonigan, if they want to promote him even better and digitally drive it better, they could work in with some streaming processes to even get that better. We can still watch Jai fight. I shout out to Isaac Harbin and Michael Zarafa when they fought early in the year and they didn't fight on Fox Sports. I know the numbers were actually quite good through a streaming service. So, like you just said before, Lynn, Fox Sports, Steve Crawley and Connor, and the guys there, they look at it. It's not just about boxing. They look at a variety of sports from AFL to soccer and all these different things.
Cricket,
And I'm going to be honest. Brock Ellis, who runs Oz Boxing, myself, who runs Oz Boxing Central, and Tommy Nathan, who runs Sporting News, we know the analytics of how many people watch boxing in this country. And out of 26 million people, it's not as big as what everyone thinks. We are, and I always say this, we are a very, very niche sport in a very, very small country.
Yeah.
We're not a big sport. We're not a big sport.
No, not in Australia. No, we've discussed that in numerous times in the past. But Tassie, one thing I suppose that's certain is that all the young talent coming through, there's only one promotional company they're going to go with.
Yeah, look, mate, I was around in the Fennec era, and Jeff was the only one that had Fox Sports back then.
Exactly.
So I was right in the peak of that, and Jeff would allow people to have Fox shows like Grains Boxing, Angelo Hyder, Craig Christensen. Jeff allowed them to use Fox Sports, but he was the one who had the rights to it. So it's sort of similar.
Yeah.
Mate, look, they've got some great talent. They do a great job. And I'm looking forward to working with Matt and George, myself, next year.
Yeah. Nah, well,
And don't forget, guys, I'm a promoter as well, yeah?
Yeah. And
just remember, this at the end of the day, Matt and George Rose and Trent Rose, you got to give a shout out to Trent Rose and Timmy Ashworth, Jeru Chanburn, and the guys that are behind No Limit. They have thrown absolutely 150% into it to get it to this level. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they've told Steve Crawley we're the only promoter. Fox Sports and Main Event have made this decision, backed off the numbers that all people have fought across with Fox Sports over the last 10 months.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's any surprise at all. I think No Limit, Foxtel have just trying to simplify things. I've picked the ones that have just got the job done.
Streamline it.
Just sign it off and move on. And because you're right, it's a very, very small sport in Australia. Still, let's.
And if Hoskin Promotions are still around, you'd be
bring back Lyndon Hoskin
too, Tassie.
Hey?
All right, let's move on to something that I want to ask you about, Nick, because you're right across it. Is this man, George Kambosos, Shakur Stevenson. Will it happen in 2023? Spill the beans.
It will possibly happen late next year. So we got a little airplay about this the other day. The offer, didn't come through to me, but it came through to George's team, was for Shakur for very, very good money. But it was all about timing. Shakur wants to fight in March, early April. George is training at the moment, but very light stuff. He can't get himself ready for a fight in March. The two went back and forth over Twitter. It was quite mutual. Shakur actually DM'd George personally. George DM'd him back. They'll do the fight. Look, I think it could possibly happen late next year, but as Tassie will say, and Tassie will back me on this, and Tassie's a massive, massive fan, George, and I actually said this to George, that's not the right fight, even if you were going to be ready for March for next year. Shakur's just looking at any name to go through. And let's be honest here, Shakur is an incredible, incredible southpaw fighter, one of the best I've ever seen to come through the ranks. He's just cleared out 130. He's going to go to 135. He's chosen the WBO route first. So that got put aside last week. Shakur respected George. George would fight him. This is the thing with George. George will fight him, but the thing is, George, you're not ready to fight him.
There's a time and a place.
There's a time and a place. George needs a certain fight against a certain individual that could come up, and I will give you some names in a minute that have come up, but that is not the right fight for George Kambosos next. Shakur's looking for a real statement at 135, and then he's looking to unify the division. Now, with Devon, I actually got a text message off Devon the other night. He's really pushing. I don't know if you've been speaking to Bill too, Tassie, but they're really trying to work in with Carl Moretti and Bob Ross
for Ramadan
before March 22nd and get this in, Tassie.
It should be.
So Yeah, so
He's
Devin
the
can
champ.
fight
He's
Lomachenko.
the undisputed champ. If Top Rank stalls it, that's because Lomachenko's their guy. You got to remember,
Correct.
Lomachenko's their guy. Devin's only on like one more fight left or two on the contract.
Correct.
He's the undisputed champion. If he wants to fight Ramadan, he knows that it takes a lot out of him afterwards. He's not going to fight, mate. Then it should be on his terms. So if
I
Lomachenko
agree.
and Top Rank want it, they should do it. But going back to George, Lyndon and Moon, George, mate, no doubt about it that he would fight Shakur. If George fought Haney twice and Shakur, George had the biggest balls in the world. I'm not sure it would be smart, and we know George would do it, but I mean, because he's the real deal. But like, you don't fight Haney twice and then try and rebuild and then fight a Shakur Stevenson who's wanting to make a statement as well. It'd be great money. We'd all respect him for it, but for longevity in the sport, it's probably good that George doesn't fight him next. If they do it later on, if Shakur doesn't get a shot, Shakur's got to wait longer to get a shot, because of the Lomachenko-Haney route. But, mate, just even think about fighting Shakur off the back of 2 losses to Haney. Wow. Like,
I totally
real fighter.
agree. Lyndon, you'd have to agree with that too. It's like, you know, it's ridiculous. But anyway, this is the social media we live in. It came up. They worked it out between each other. They put it to the side. It could be a fight that happens later in the year. I think that Devin will, and I told Devin straight out, I said, Devin, like Tassie just said, put your fucking foot down. You are the undisputed champion. You've got 1 fight left. Get that fight done in between March 22nd. Ramadan goes for how many days? 36 days. He can't do Ramadan for 36 days. His red and white blood cells drop, and then he goes into a camp and then fights Loma in May. No, he's the undisputed champion. He needs to fight when he wants to fight. He's going to win that fight. He'll beat Lomachenko.
Yeah.
I actually believe he stops Lomachenko and he goes to 140 before Shakur. So what happens there for George Kambosos fans out there and Australian boxing fans is when Devin Haney goes to 140 and vacates that hopefully after March, it opens up all the belts at 135 like it has just done with Navarrete and Liam Wilson. So when that opens up, because Shakur moved out of 130, so it moves up. So George would potentially fight here you heard it first, a Jojo Diaz, a George Linares. You're on the ball. A Pitbull Cruz for fucking really, really big money. And these are good fights that I think George can win.
Do you say Linares there, Nick?
Yeah, I did say Linares, yeah.
Still there. Hey, we saw him.
He's still there, the Venezuelan.
Still dangerous, mate. I love Linares.
I love Linares too.
Fernando Vargas' sons.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to the Vargas boys and shout out to the work that Tassie's doing with them. But this is the thing. That's what's good for George next. What's good for Shakur next? Well, Shakur will fucking hop in with fucking Floyd Mayweather back in his beat. Shakur's just on a whole different level. But I don't see Haney putting his foot down. I don't see Haney vacating that without a reason. Haney will do the Lomachenko fight. It either happens or he'll vacate those belts and move to 140 because he knows Bill better than I do. That was a very, very, very fucking tough weight cut. They struggled the night before the weight cut. They did an emergency weight cut at 1 o'clock in the morning to get down to 135, and it's very, very tough for Devin to do that.
All right, well, another fight, Tassie, that we're talking about already is another one, both of them are your mates, basically. Jason Maloney, Nonito Donaire. Will we see it for the WBC Bantamweight title in 23? If you don't know, we all know Jason, of course, but Tassie pretty much risked his life to jump a grandstand into another grandstand to meet Donaire. So do you think we've got a chance of it happening?
Mate, look, there's no comparison who I'm closer with. It's obviously Jason Maloney, but I like Donaire. He seemed like a nice guy and he's a great fighter. This is crazy if it happens, man. Like, we know the Monster's moved on. Like, he's pound for pound, I think, number one now in a way. And, you know, unified the belts. Jason and Donaire sparred years ago because you were there, Lyndon.
Yeah, I was there, yep.
And, but Donaire's still a dangerous fighter.
Very
It's been great
dangerous.
for Jason. Yeah, it's a great fight. It's a 50-50 fight. Even though Daenerys older, he's still great, and Jason's great as well. I think it's 50-50 still. But yeah, it'll be a great fight. I hope Jason gets the opportunity to dethrone a future Hall of Famer. First ballot, future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. And for the WBC belt, it'd be awesome, and I think that'd be a great shot for Jason.
You think it's 50-50, Lyndon?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, well, I mean, when I saw them spar in Vegas, it was 2017. So Jason only been a pro for 2.5 years. So it was a long time ago. Nonito Donaire was still at the top of his game then. I'll be talking 5 years ago. But it's only a spar, of course. But I know ever since Jason's wanted to have a bit of a crack at Nonito, and I just think it'll be a great fight. And you've met him; he's a great guy. So I don't think there'll be any fireworks in the lead up to it. But I think it'll just be a really good old-fashioned scrap between two really great guys who are just warriors and just get it on.
Agree.
All right, on to the next one. Nick, for this one, his brother. Could we see Andrew Maloney, Juan Francisco Estrada for the World Super Flyweight title in 2023?
Potentially, this could happen as well. Shout out to Tony Tolles and the team there, Angelo Hyder.
Great job. Yep.
They're working. These are the people that absolutely behind the scenes don't get enough recognition of what they do. And shout out to Tony Tolles and Angelo Hyder for doing this. But these guys, we are going to put the phones down, the laptops down, and take 2-3 weeks off. They won't. These guys are deep in negotiations. Jason is potentially, as the people, we speak about Zarafa being the number one, and we speak about Tim Tszyu being the number one of the WBO. Jason Maloney is the number one of the WBC and WBO. Andrew Maloney with Estrada is potentially another big fight. So, mate, these are massive things that could happen with Top Rank. And shout out to Top Rank Boxing that could make these happen for the boys, that could happen in the first 4 months of next year. Could even happen on the same card.
Oh, it'd be amazing to think that how far these guys have come, where they're both going to be fighting, hopefully, for the belts and the major belts. I think it's just awesome.
Come a hell of a long way, Lyndon, since you promoted their first.
The Malvern Town Hall.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lyndon, you were one of the guys that backed these boys in right from the start, and we must always remember that.
And they remember it too, mate.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
They're good. They're great boys, and I really ultimate professionals. They do everything. They're in the gym all the time. They don't do camps.
Yeah.
They're always in the gym. They're probably not much over their fight weight. They live boxing, and they'll get out what they deserve. They'll both get belts and make some good money in the game.
And they deserve it. And you wouldn't get too hard working guys in the sport. Well, that's it for the Aussies. We could probably go on forever without even getting into the international stuff. But one of the things we want to go over tonight, guys, is our highlights of this year and what we're looking forward to into 2023. So what we're going to do, we've got 4 different categories we're going to go through. We'll all give our answers, and then once we've all given an answer, we can go back and add a few honorary mentions or whatever. But the categories are the domestic highlight of the year, the international highlight of the year, the fight or domestic fight you'd like to see happen in 2023, and the international fight you would like to see happen in 2023. Tazzy, I'm going to start with you. What was your domestic highlight of 2022?
Well, I mean, can I? Because it wasn't domestic, but it was an Australian. Can I include the Opataya title win or not?
Yeah, it's an Aussie. It's a domestic fight, so of course.
So yeah, Joel Opataya's world title win, obviously over Breeders, over the Ring Magazine Cruiserweight champion who gave Usyk a majority decision. A loss to Usyk. Was heavy favourite. Broke Jai's jaw early, and Jai went on and boxed a great fight and won the title. And I think Jai's the best in the division. I think our boxers all the cruiserweights. So I think probably definitely the standout. I'd go international.
Oh, hang on. We'll go through the domestic first, and then we'll come around.
Yeah, go.
All right. Nick, who you got, mate? And you can't say George Kambosos every fight either, okay?
No, of course not. Mate, the best domestic thing that happened in Australian boxing this year was Paul Fleming and Jackson English England. It was absolutely fucking fantastic. Guys, let's go back through all the fights this year and all the build-ups, Sarafa versus Hardman, Paro versus Jarvis. It was one that flew under the radar. Shout out to the guys on Stan Sport. They're another big player that are coming back in 2023. Look out for that. Stay tuned for that. But from me, domestic highlight of the year, from boxing purists and analysts, mate, Fleming versus Jackson, England. It was absolutely fucking fantastic.
All right. Well, I'll give mine, and then we can go back around for some
I'm
others.
the only one allowed to swear on here, Nick. So you know that. Mate.
What was that, Taz? What was Jordan Tazzy say?
He's the only one allowed to swear on here. But hey, Nick, you can say it, mate, because you say it with gusto. I like it.
It was such a great fight, though, wasn't it?
All right. Well, I'll give my one. It was really, really hard for me, I got to say, but and we'll give a couple honorary mentions after this. So I'm going to go with Liam Paro, KO1, Brock Jarvis. I thought it was just such an electrifying performance from a young star. You got to remember, it's easy to wipe Brock now. Everyone's sort of great in hindsight, but at the time, this was a really big build-up to the fight. Matchroom's first show, of course, and I was just so impressed with Liam Paro's performance over Brock Jarvis. I thought that was sort of my highlight of the year. Probably more so, not necessarily as far as the world, like the implications on the world scene, but just what the card itself. As I said, Matchroom's first show, and the way he did it, I thought it was great. I will give one honorary mention though, guys. Was Michael Zarafa, Isaac Hardman. I was at the fight. Electric atmosphere. The result was beyond doubt, and it was just an awesome night of.
Yeah, but hang on. We talk about Zarafa versus Hardman, right? It was beyond doubt. How come the bookies had Hardman at $1.80 and Zarafa at $2.70?
Not beyond doubt as far as the result goes. Just the result itself was beyond doubt. It was a clean knockout, So not. We expected Zarafa to win because I actually thought Hardman might win. But just it was a full well, actually it wasn't a full stop, it was an exclamation mark on the whole thing. There was no doubt as far as the result.
I knew, I mean, look, shout out to Hardman. He's a ripper bloke, but I knew Michael would win. He'd been at too many levels, the levels. Yeah, like, that's it. Like, I knew that I knew that Mike would win. I didn't
another one, mate?
Fashion. Not in that fashion, though.
Yeah.
I thought, but not the way it was,
Have you got another one there?
Who, me?
Another domestic one there, or?
Yeah, I do.
It was, for me, it was Paro and Jarvis as well. The hype, two undefeated warriors, Eddie Hearn's debut on Australian Matchroom. I message Brock regularly. And he's a great kid. I thought Brock was going to win it. I was wrong, and I respect Paro. He's a great fighter, good team. The Carlos are good friends of mine. But that was all the hype. Two young lions, only one winner, and wow, what a way to cement that. But Liam will get a title shot, and I'll see Brock. He'll be back, mate. He's training now. And Jeff Fennick behind him, he'll be back. What
about you, Nick?
Renaud Quinlan over Jack Bowen.
Yeah, someone just said that before. Where was that?
Oh, don't say that. Poor old Mike Altamura isn't here to defend himself.
Old mate, Big J.
Who said that?
Nice, Nick. Not very nice, Nick.
No, listen. Jack Bowen and I play golf.
Mike's in Africa. He's got no internet connection in Zimbabwe. And you go and mention one of his fighters being knocked out. Mate, there's levels. Mike Altamura has no Wi-Fi in Zimbabwe. End of story.
Mike Altamura knows me very well, and I was with Mike Altamura after that fight and was with him, and I was completely shocked. I know Jack personally. He's a good friend of mine. We actually play golf
Mike
together.
as good as I do, Nick?
Hey?
Do you know Mike as good as I do?
Is it a competition how well we know Mike? But what I'm saying is, when you look at that fight the question was domestically, Jack Bowen was the hot favourite there, and Renaud Quinlan turned it back to 2014.
Oh, mate, Red's dangerous all the time.
Was behind in the fight and dug deep and did tell the guys from No Limit that he would knock Jack out. But shout out to Jack. I think Jack will be back, and Jack will learn from that. But from watching boxing personally, you can't go past the domestic fight, which has to be Fleming versus England. There's no fight domestically that comes close to it.
Nah, and Liam Parra deserves the title shit after the Catterall ring. Oh, I'm assuming that means shot there, mate. But,
can I give a mention to just it's not about a fight, but to a guy that I think probably doesn't get looked over as much, but I think he is a very good fighter we have in Australia, and will do great things. Is Mateo Tapia?
Yeah. Yep.
Mateo Tapia has got it all. He's young, he's hungry, he's a bull, and mate, keep an eye on that guy. He's going to do some big things.
All right.
Shout out to and Mateo is moving overseas, guys. He will start 2023 abroad, and he's decided to take his training camps and he'll be a full-time athlete out of California.
Oh, that's great. Good on him. All
Wow.
right. Well, that's awesome. All right, we'll get on to the international stuff.
Levels.
One thing I will say before we move on.
Stop it.
One more honorary mention, guys. I was so impressed. Like the female boxing this year in Aussie was just off the charts.
Incredible.
With all the great fighters coming through. That's and the two great world title fights this year. Two all Aussie ones: Shanika Johnson, Susie Ramadan, and Ebony Bridges.
Aussie's female boxing does Lyndon.
Look,
female boxing.
Whether you're into it or not, I just thought it was to have two all Aussie world title fights in a 12 month, well, probably a 3 month span, and then have all these others coming. It was great. So anyway, international Tassie, what was your highlight for the international scene this year?
Well, I was sad because but you can't go past Bivol beating Canelo.
Yeah,
you can't go. Canelo was pound for pound one, probably still is. I don't think but he went up. He dared to be great. He was a unified super middleweight champion, and he went up and fought Bivol. They didn't play their cards. They underestimated him. It wasn't fighting Kovalev and old Kovalev. Bivol's got good feet. He's got good distance. Punches in bunches. Punches when he wants to punch. He does what he wants to do. He's in and out. And it was a bad style for Canelo, especially Canelo. Canelo throws not many punches now. It's not Canelo versus Cotto or Canelo versus Mosley. He doesn't throw many punches. It was lethargic to get the weight. He didn't carry it well.
No.
And that's the biggest fight. Bivol beating Canelo, hands down, the biggest news in boxing in 2022.
How about you, Nick?
I look at it in two ways here. I agree with Tassie there. I think it is the biggest story of the year is Bivol beating Canelo. I give Bivol Fighter of the Year. Obviously, he went over Ramirez later in the year, but to beat Canelo in the fashion that he did and the way he did it, I think he beats Canelo again.
Yeah,
I think for me, internationally, from an Australian point of view, it's Dry Up Attire. I just think it's so fantastic what he did. I backed him in to win that fight by points. I didn't think that he could knock Brutus out. I thought Brutus could knock him out, but for us, I think it's Dry Up Attire. Dry Up Attire has to get the Australian boxing, whatever the awards are.
Yeah.
We don't do awards at Australian Boxing Central and Noonan Boy because there's so many different levels to it. But Dry Up Attire has to get Australia's Boxer of the Year by a country mile.
Yeah.
And like you guys said before, I think with Opataya, he is one that doesn't get as much recognition as the likes of Tim Tszyu and the George Kambotzes and these guys, but he is one that in around about 18 months, he could be a unified cruiserweight world champion, and he has the potential to just absolutely go from strength to strength. And he's been in with the biggest puncher, the toughest guy that's fought at cruiserweight the last 6 to 7 years, and I think he'll just go from strength to strength.
Yeah, I agree. And a quick one there. Honorary mention, of course, Stevie Spark, but the fact it was a disqualification win just puts an asterisk beside it for me, Andy. I just thought if he had won the fight on the scorecards or stoppage, would have been a bit different. But DQ, let's wait for the rematch, I think. My highlight, and I must admit, guys, going back through the highlights on the international scene, for me, there wasn't a hell of a lot that jumped out, but I think it sort of really sort of hit home in the last month of this year, which of course December. I thought Juan Francisco Estrada and Chocolito Gonzalez was a ripper fight. I think it really topped the year off great. I thought Gonzalez might have been a little bit unlucky in the end, but full credit to Estrada. And I thought, as I said, it was a little bit lean as far as big international results went. But to me, that we finally got the result that we wanted in the end. So what's that there? So Carl, great to have you along, mate. So yep, Merry Christmas to you too, mate.
Merry Christmas, Carl.
Is
Thanks
the
for your
man.
support, mate.
Andy, Merry Christmas, Shane, all from the Northern Territory guys too. Yeah, so really great to have you guys along. All right, couple to go before we end the show and the year, guys. If you, Tassie, domestic fight for 2003. If you had a dream fight you could make between two Aussies, who would it be?
It's got to.
What was it?
It's got to be Liam. It's got to be Liam Paro versus Stevie Spark.
Yeah.
Super lightweight fight. That both Queenslanders, both on the world stage. What a fight!
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. What about you, Nick?
This was a hard one. When you sent it through about 3 hours ago, I couldn't really think of a domestic fight, and when I was thinking about potential fights with Paro and Zarafa and Zoo. I think maybe we need a little bit more time for me to make my decision on this. What I mean? Like Fleming versus Bilal Dib was one that
would have been
thought, good. First of mine. Justice Hooney versus Dempsey McKean, if that could happen. This Joel Taylor's another one now that Tassie, you've got to admit, who has just come into the friction now. Joel Taylor is one that's sort of flown under the radar. You know what I mean? Is he hopping in with a different fighter could be different as well. There's a balance here. Levels.
Levels.
But there's so many variations. I can't really say what it is.
Joel Taylor, mate.
Yeah, Joel Taylor, he was good. No, that's all good.
Great fighter.
All right, I'm going to go with a fight that was supposed to happen. That's Isaac Hardman, Andre Mikhailovich, I think, would be a ripper fight. And I'm actually going to throw in, there's been a bit of going back and forth between the guys. I had Paro and Spark up the top two, Tassie. That was sort of my fallback one. But even on the girls' front, I'd love to see Sky Nicholson, Beck Hawker, or Ebony Bridges, Shanika Johnson too. They'd be great fights as well. So plenty of good fights to happen out there. Even Tassie, you agree with Joel Taylor and Darragh Foley. How good would something like that be? Those types of fights. There's so many good young guys out there that could lock horns. It's fantastic. So
Joel Taylor, he made everyone stand up and take notice, mate. I tell you now.
Yep. Nah, fair enough. All right, last one, guys. We'll start with you, Tassie. International fight you'd like to see next year that you would like.
I've got two.
That's okay.
Got two. I'll go the number one, which is he's all have to say the same because you can't go against this. It's Crawford.
Spence Crawford.
Crawford and Spence has to happen.
Yeah.
Could have happened in 222. Got to happen in 223. The winner goes number one pound for pound for all the belts.
100%.
Leonard fought Hearns. Hagler fought Duran. Duran fought Leonard. Duran fought Hearns. Hearns fought Leonard.
Yeah.
Hearns fought Hagler. It has to happen. Number two, between two young guns, it might not happen due to weight. They've always missed each other by one division in the amateurs. Is Devin Haney versus Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
Pure boxing, brilliance, youth, athleticism, skill, power. They've always been one division. Haney's always been one division above him in the amateurs. Shakur move up, Haney moves up. Not by any reason, it's just by weight.
Yep.
It might happen again, but that's the best of the best right there.
What do you think, Nick?
Tassie's just stolen the show. He's just hopped on that He's just hopped on that ferry at Hobart. We're going up to the peninsula. I can't hop on that ferry. But it's Spence versus Crawford. And I've got a little message for Bomac and Terence Crawford. You guys just did 125,000 pay-per-views last week. It was absolutely appalling. It was lies. It was all bullshit. Terence Crawford did not get 10 million for that fight. He got 2.1 million. Crawford, you need Spence. You need Floyd Mayweather. You need Al Heyman. You need PBC. That is the biggest fight. It has to be promoted. by Floyd Mayweather. It needs to be digitally enhanced by Fight Hype. And that is the fight of 2023. It is Spence versus Crawford. That is the biggest thing to happen in boxing. I think it's actually bigger than Mayweather versus Pacquiao when it comes to boxing ability. No, listen.
They're in their prime.
Correct, in their prime. Because Pacquiao and Floyd really should have done it.
It's Hearns and Leonard.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah, it is.
I agree. So that's the biggest one for me. The second biggest one is Tank versus Garcia, but that's from a social media point of view.
Yeah.
If you actually look at it,
a good fight.
Devontae Davis is the A side. Ryan Garcia with his rankings, and that doesn't actually warrant the fight. There's probably more reason that Tank Davis fights George Kambosos than he fights Ryan Garcia. But boxing is a business. It's a great fight, but I think that will probably happen next year as well. And I was going to say that the fight, I don't think it'll happen next year. It's not Loma versus Haney, old mate Big J, because you'll find out when Loma versus Haney, it should be Haney versus Loma, and Haney will dust him and Loma will get put to rest. He's been a great fighter. But it is Haney versus Shakur Stevenson. It is a cat-like fight. It is massive. The only problem is it could be on ESPN and Top Rank, but yeah, they're the three biggest fights that could happen next year. Unfortunately, for us in the heavyweight division, I love my heavyweights. There's nothing in the heavyweight division that really excites me that could potentially top that.
I actually have got a heavyweight fight as part of my little list here. I really would like to, regardless of
Joshua and Wilder.
I'd like to see Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I really would. I think it'd be a massive fight.
I thought you'd say that.
If I have it in England, I think it'd be massive. I just think both of them have still got some pretty good currency. I just think that's a really good matchup.
Wilder knocks in Spark out.
I think so too.
I agree.
Yep. So that was my heavyweight one. Of course, I had Davis and Garcia, Haney, Lomachenko. But one I would mind seeing, there was a couple here. I'd like to see Canelo fight Jamal Charlo. Now, I know everyone's talking about Benavidez and Bivol.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen because he's going to fight Ryder and then Benavidez. Who was the other one? Oh, Bivol again. But I know everyone talks about Benavidez, but I just think him and Jamal Charlo would just be a really, really good matchup. I don't know whether that'll happen. And then one more is Regis Prograis. Is that how you pronounce his name? Prograis and Teofimo Lopez. Just a little one to sneak in there as well. I think that'd be a good fight too.
Mate, that's good insight. And Lyndon, you know your boxing. That's a great fight at 140.
Of course he knows his boxing. Mate, 96 around Olympian they're talking to, mate.
I would hope so. I've got my own boxing show, so I would hope I know a little bit about it. But I just pretend anyway. But what do we got there? A couple there. A couple more.
Shout out to Big Bill Huck in Norfolk, Tasmania. Merry Christmas, Bill. Thanks for supporting all my shows in Tasmania. You're a true boxing fan. Big shout out to Bill Huck.
Hey, one more. Yeah, well done, Bill, for tuning in, mate. It's great to have you on. One more thing before I let you go, Tassie. I forgot to mention it before. What's this? Mundine Pacquiao, Papua New Guinea. What's the go?
Yeah, Monday went over there. Barry Michaels, Peter Maniatis. On the weekend, Pierre Karam took Jack Stevens over, and mate, they're talking about doing something to help Papua New Guinea. Apparently, it's pretty bad crime there. It's the worst. I think women get mistreated the worst there in any country in the world. They live like absolute cannibals, and I think that they're trying to get boxing there to help the youth. But shout out to Chock. I like to see Skinny Hussein knock Pacquiao the fuck out like he did the first time. And while we're on the subject, it's Christmas, yeah? It's our last show for the year, yeah? Peter Maniatis, where are you?
Where are you, Peter? Where are you, Peter? Yeah.
You started 2022 with us, correctly?
Yeah, exactly. What happened to him?
And I've not seen you on this show for months. I took it to another level. Did me beating you in the quiz every week really end your love with our show and boxing?
I think it did.
Did I do that much damage to you, Peter? Do you sleep at night with Tassie on your mind? Do you,
And
do
the
you
lights
cry
on.
at night? Do you hug your pillow and think,
Oh,
damn,
no.
I cannot beat this kid? I thought I was a king of Melbourne boxing, but this young Tasmanian is on another level. Peter, where are you? Peter,
Where are you, Pete?
Well, I think that's a really great way to end the year, mate. And good question, where is Peter? He was going to get back to me, never did. So,
kicked his ass like he was a little baby.
but we've
Peter.
got Noonan boy there as well, so it's all good. And we might even add.
But Noonan's not quizzing with me, mate. Noonan's not quizzing with me.
We might add a couple
He's
more
not
to the
quizzing
mix
with me.
next year as well. But guys, what I will say, guys, is that really appreciate both of you being on. I know, Nick, you've only sort of come on recently, but really appreciate both of you guys coming on, bringing all different personalities and all that involved. And I'm hoping all our viewers out there appreciate what we're trying to do. It's just a bit more of a light-hearted sort of thing. And as I said, bringing a lot of different personalities in, not just sort of being straight bats, I suppose you'd call it. But we really appreciate...
Linda, before we sign off, before we go and put our Christmas tree up and we put our little Santa sack and we get all festive, how was the experience in America with me early in the year, Lyndon? How was being in Vegas with Tassie Brown?
I still haven't recovered, mate. It was pretty hard work. So...
Was it entertaining? Did we go places where we probably would have...
I was just tagging along, mate, trying to keep up. You definitely took it to another level. And if you guys want to know how to hustle and get things done, follow the guy on the right top of the screen there. So
Tassie, where were you when we did Floyd Canelo, Floyd Guerrero, Medina back to back? Where were you, Tassie?
Mate, I had no money,
weren't
so I was
there.
just in. I was in Tasmania, broke as a fucking 2-cent piece.
I think, Tassie, you need to start Tassie tours, I reckon, and take a few of these
We're going
guys
to bring
with
you
you
back,
along, I
Tassie.
reckon.
We're going to bring you back.
And before you go, I want to thank Nick Noonan for letting me be a part of the good on you, mate. Be a part of the Gambosis Haney rematch through Fight Hype. Nick sort of used his connections there to get me involved after he seen me interview Jake Paul in America.
100%.
Thanks for that, mate. I became good friends with Bill Haney because of it, and Devon and all the team. And it was good to be the only guy there really backstage and getting the ring walk and sort of being there every day. So I'd like to thank Noon and Fight Hype for that.
Yeah, great insight, Nick.
Shout out to Ben Thompson, because I always say this in boxing, you know what I mean? There's no Noonan boy without Ben Thompson, and Ben Thompson and Mayweather promotion to where Fight Hype started, as Tassie knows, and yourself, Lyndon, back in 2009. Yep. We were the first. You know, we could say that I've been with Fight Hype for many years now. Obviously, I lived in Canada and America and covered boxing over there. And for me, being back in Australia the last 4 years is actually new to me. And how could you not bring Tassie along? And when Tassie's there, you know, with Ebony Bridges' interview this year that did over 250,000 views through Fight Hype, Noonan Boy, and Australian Boxing Central. And you got to, mate, it's great when you see the camera behind the boxers. I think there needs to be more of it. You know what I mean? Like, you look at boxing media, most of the people that are actually doing it, like myself, actually haven't had a professional fight. So we have to merge it in a different way. So it was great to have Tassie down there for the rematch. And, you know, it was great. You know what I mean? He was with Team Haney, but, you know what I mean? What would you talk about? So when I go over there, do I have to support you? You were supporting Devon Haney. I was riding for my brother, George Cambosa. So if I get caught with a photo of me backstage with Jamel Charlo, are you going to say I'm un-Australian, Tassie, or what are you going to say?
We're going to have some words, Noonan, levels. But listen, these are Peter Maniatis' Versace sunglasses. I stole them off him. These are Peter's.
And if any of you guys are in Vegas for the Tim Tszyu Charlo fight, make sure you go and say g'day to whether it be Tassie or myself.
Tassie will
or
be
whatever.
there. I won't be there. Tassie will be there.
So if you see Tazzy, go and shake his hand. I'm sure you'll end up on his Instagram feed somewhere. So go and say good day. And
well, hey, if you make it on my Instagram, you've made it in life.
well, thanks again, both of you guys, for what you've contributed this year. It's been much appreciated. As I said, I hope everyone out there has appreciated what we've tried to do, and hopefully we can step it up next year. So everyone have a very, very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2023.
Can you both stay on here too afterwards, boys?
Cool. Okay. See you guys.